So here's the problem. What I said the other night on those three videos that I made when the electricity was out, that somebody conveniently decided when they tapped the electricity out to try to steal the voice files, was that the reason I chose unconsciously what I did, despite the fact I think somebody else was hedging on me going after Miller versus US so that the old man would get his kickback, was what I actually ended up doing was going with the case where a pro se plaintiff was engaged in litigation concerning the Saudi royal family because it was alleged that the Saudi royal family was going to be providing 106, I believe, billion, if not $1 million, $106 billion worth of aid to women and children. And what had been happening in the United States is that people in the Health and Human Services Department network and the Housing and Urban Development Network, by virtue of receiving funding and necessarily having to apply for grants and meeting qualifications associated with those grants at domestic violence and homeless shelters around the country, had instead been agreeing to aid and abet the infiltration of narco terrorists into very high positions within the government, including government agencies, while they were trafficking women and children in an effort to attempt to do things up to and including smuggle weapons and radioactive materials. And this has been going on at least since 2016 when I was in Chicago. And only later did I realize it aided and abetted the situations in other parts of the world, up to and including the use of depleted uranium weapons and chemical weapons in Syria, up to and including what was announced later within their human rights network as being the strategic murders of people identified as political dissidents that were summarily executed in prisons by lawyers and judges that did nothing more than put their name on what I understand is probably a derivative providing insurance to all these people trying to get their workers' rights claims, their acknowledgement as heroes when it comes to distribution of biological weapons. And so, while whatever it was that sua sponte was supposed to be, that the manner in which it was identified was to understand, it was very important to let people know that if they were aiding and abetting a terrorist attack in the United States, they were going to be held accountable, that the alert had been acknowledged so that they could decide accordingly. And not only that, but that the actual case of concern did, in fact, literally regard nuclear security. Regarding a case concerning the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, and one of the things it discussed was what? What did it discuss? The appeal, rather. The second case. What was it talking about? There were certain standards that needed to be considered regarding the responsibility. And see, that was the appropriate situation, right? So, if you thought you were going to cut the voice out and keep the visage, and then what were you going to put in its stead? What did you want to be the audio you put on that woman's face? What did you want your slutty little Irish girl conversion scheme to be this time? Because you didn't get it. And in the end, what I witnessed was how you aided and abetted the illicit surveillance of people in processes of disgusting or automation that are trying to illicitly and illegally set up a scheme that I believe is supposed to aid and abet an appearance of plausible deniability when there's no such thing. You've all known long enough.